लोग सपना देख रहे हैं गजवाई हिंद का। मैं बहुत स्पष्टता के साथ कह सकता हूं, ये नया भारत है। ये नया भारत संविधान के अनुरूप चलेगा, शरीयत के अनुरूप नहीं। और मैं इस बात को भी स्पष्टता के साथ कह सकता हूं, गजवाई हिंद का सपना कयामत के दिन तक भी साकार नहीं होगा।
तुम देखना एक दिन इस देश की प्रधानमंत्री एक बच्ची हिजाब पहन के प्रधानमंत्री बने।
Good evening, hello and welcome to News Epicentre. I'm Anusha Soni. Article 25 of the Indian Constitution gives freedom to an individual, you and me, the freedom of conscience, to decide our own religion, to decide our own right and wrong, follow the path that we choose to. Well, here's the interesting bit. Unlike other fundamental rights, the limitation here is not of reasonableness, but of public order, morality and health. In the process of living our lives as doctors, soldiers, lawyers and even as students, as we have interface with various institutions, we abide to a dress code. Sometimes that dress code gives a backseat to our religious identity. On other occasions, we find ways to balance the competing interests. But when a group of teenage girls in Karnataka's Udupi insisted that they would like to wear hijab inside the classrooms, a political and constitutional debate kick-started in the country, which has now reached the Karnataka High Court. Over the next 30 minutes, we will navigate through this debate touching upon three crucial points. First, in the absence of any law or a state legislation, can the district authorities ban a certain religious attire or a dress code? Do they have the mandate? Second, what are the limits of religious expression at state-run schools and institutions? In a country where a lamp is lit before Goddess Saraswati, or we are known to celebrate various festivals of different religions while we are getting education, can religion be completely kept out? The impending reform within the Muslim personal law has also given a rise to a lot of voices demanding a uniform civil code. Is UCC the answer to our problems? Joining us on the broadcast are our guest, Mr. Zafar Islam. He is the BJP MP and spokesperson. He is with us on the broadcast. We also have Aditya Srinivasan. He is an advocate. Mr. Zafar Islam, I'm coming to you, sir. In the absence of any legislation that exists from the state government of Karnataka explicitly banning hijab, the argument that has been there of the petitioners is that the manner in which the district authorities acted was malified and in some way only to create discrimination. How do you see that?
Well, let me first correct you.
Sure.
No government in the country, whether it's a state or the center, has the right to stop anyone from wearing hijab.
Sure.
So nobody is stopping you. You can wear, but the constitution gives you that flexibility to wear whatever you feel appropriate for you, as long as it is acceptable to the society. It's not something where you are creating problem for others. But hijab is something where many women were wearing everywhere across the country. But it is unfair to make this as the government of the day is stopping anyone from wearing hijab.
Okay.
It is, you have to differentiate between the two situations. One is that wearing hijab, yes, of course it is allowed. The constitution gives you that flexibility and the right to freedom of that flexibility that whatever you want to wear, you can wear. But important for you to understand and for everyone to understand that if there is a dress code defined, and when you know at inception itself, because you have been made known to you at upfront that there is a dress code everyone has to wear, so there is a uniformity. And if that is something which you are aware, it's not that somebody is imposing you later, then everyone has to follow. If you're not comfortable with that restrictions or the conditions, then of course you can choose not to take admission there. But if you choose to take admission
Zafar
there,
Islam,
you
made an argument. I want to question you on that. You're right in pointing out that no state government or the central government has come out with a legislation saying you cannot wear hijab. My entire argument is premised on the argument that when you have an interface with state-run educational institutes, especially an educational institute that we are talking about right now, there's a certain dress code which is being talked about. The right that these teenage girls wanted to assert how is it that these girls are stopped from exercising their right? And the other key arguments that the petitioners made before the Karnataka High Court was that why hinder their right to education if there is so much insistence on making sure that girls have access to education, then why are they being penalized in a manner like this? Could there not have been a way to resolve the situation in a different way?
Well, the matter is sub judice.
Sure.
It is in the court of High Court of Karnataka. I mean, I think everyone should wait before till the verdict of Karnataka High Court comes, because there is no point making any statement when the matter is sub judice. But having said that, all I'm trying to tell you that there is no such restriction, legislation, or people have been asked not to wear hijab. No one can do that. If is a classic example, there are many people in the parliament who wears a particular kind of dress like bhagwa. Somebody wear bhagwa and they attend the parliament. For instance, there are people like YC who wear the pure Islamic dress. He also attends the parliament. Nobody is stopping them. That only suggests that you have the flexibility. The constitution gives you that flexibility. But if there is a dress code, like for instance in the airlines, in the bank, in various other places, police, army, Air Force, where everyone has to follow certain rules. Let me give you one example. I think it is for everyone to know. In many countries, Islamic countries, where the law of the land is purely Islamic law.
Based on Shariat.
Where you, in the army, you cannot keep beard. The army, there are certain restrictions which will look like that's anti-Islamic. If you tell the mullahs in India, they will say that it's all anti-Islamic.
Okay.
But it is being practiced.
I want to bring in another panelist also in the debate. Aditya Srinivasan, who's an advocate, is with us on the broadcast. Aditya, I want to understand from you. We have seen a legal debate which is emerging at the Karnataka High Court. Various precedents are being cited. It is not established under the present precedents that exist from the various high courts and the Supreme Court that hijab is part of the basic tenets of the faith of Islam. That needs to be ratified, if at all, by a court of law. That debate needs to be settled. But in the absence of that, there is, of course, a very stern debate which is happening across the country. That what are the limits to religious expression when it comes to state-run institutions?
Right, and I think this goes back to something I've been saying a little bit, which is that when the Constitution was put together, the framers of our Constitution contemplated a secular space and a religious space, and these were intended to at least be two distinct spheres, with the caveat that there was an intention to sort of bring in reforms in some way, shape or form and do it over a period of time, etc., etc. So I think what seems to have happened is over the course of our independence and over the course of our constitutional history, there has been some sort of a mix between what is counted to be a part of the secular space, what is counted to be part of the private or religious sphere, and what are the principles on which the two spheres demarcated between one another or demarcated from another, and that seems to have happened. Now, I think with respect to state-run institutions, again, my own view is upon the reading of the Constitution that the state and the government is well within its rights to put together a specific dress code that it wants its students to follow and to include or exclude certain aspects within that dress code or uniform, particularly since it pertains to what is effectively school children, class 11 and 12.
Yes.
I think that's within the purview of the state to do. And of course, the other guest mentioned this is being considered by the courts and arguments are being advanced, and we'll see where the court lands.
Yeah, that's an interesting debate which is happening not just in the courts but also in the public sphere. It's an active debate which is happening around us. Swati Malik of the Congress Party is also joining us on the broadcast. Swati, the Congress Party has taken an official position that the manner in which the girls are being stopped from wearing hijab inside the school premises, inside the classrooms, is fundamentally flawed. The argument that Mr. Zafar Islam and Aditya, who's an advocate with us on the broadcast, is making that institutions, including state-run institutions, have the mandate to decide a dress code. And when a dress code has been decided, you will have to adhere to it, especially when it comes to school students, which are, below 18 years of age, minors we're talking about. What's your view? I mean, how do you see this institutional autonomy argument?
Anusha, there is no doubt that all of us have always respected the school uniform that we all wore, right? All of us went to schools and there were uniforms. But here we have to look at what's happening here with a little different angle. What was it that happened before 4th of February that made the government implement an order or pass this new government order? According to them, the rules were already there. There was a code of dress code already prescribed. For some reason, it was not followed, and therefore on 5th of February, they passed this order where they banned hijabs. Now, it doesn't look as, it is not as simple as they make it sound.
Okay.
These girls are not, this was not an overnight decision by these girls to wear a hijab, right? They had been wearing it for months. Right? So the only reason why the government even did it was to distract people from real issues within Karnataka itself. I'm sure you are aware of it, like most of your viewers will be, about the cryptocurrency 7,000 crore scam out there, about the 2 crore
But Swati,
jobs,
the distraction argument will not address the merit of this argument or the debate. And I want you to address this debate on the merits of it.
Anusha, even if you look at the merits of of whether wearing a hijab is a fundamental right or not, it is very well protected under Article 25, and with all the panelists from the legal fraternity that you have, I'm sure everybody will be able to agree with the fact that there is a freedom provided under the Article 25. Of course, that freedom comes with some limitations, right? But those limitations also have to be adjudicated upon very carefully and have to be. And today, if you see the committee which is deciding whether girls will wear a hijab or not, in spite of the fact that the matter is pending before a full bench in Karnataka High Court, is some committee which comprise of local MLAs.
Okay.
Right? So when we see a bias like that, when we see something as arbitrary as local MLAs deciding whether hijab will be worn or not, that is where the doubt once again starts, and that is why we have to look at
the political motivations of a certain decision are rarely a substantive argument before a court of law. Karuna Nandi is also with us on the broadcast. She's a lawyer. Karuna, I want to take your view on this entire matter. Simply put, and of course this is an issue that the High Court is also debating, but I want your 2 cents on it. Does the right to wear a hijab at a state-run school protected under Article 25?
I have no 2 cents, and also you clearly have a very strong view on the issue.
No, I don't have, Karna.
What
I'm
is
just
being
debating.
argued before the... You're not meant to be a debater here, madam. You're meant to be an anchor.
I don't even know
What
why
is
you're addressing me
before
and the
court-
argument. Please go ahead, ma'am.
What I'm saying to you and what I'm saying to all the other panelists is that this matter is before a court that is quite serious, and therefore we must be quite responsible and not debate here. What is being argued before the court is a number of different things, including what the petitioners are saying is that the Article 25 freedom of conscience, something that was upheld by the Supreme Court in Bijoy Emanuel, is something that these girls have. It is also being argued that Article 14 applies, which is that you cannot arbitrarily shut down what you began in the beginning of the school year. If you explicitly allowed hijabs that were exactly the same color as the uniform, and you can't, a few months before the exams, arbitrarily ask to take them off. So let us see what the court decides. It has also been argued that the unfair delegation of power, that the public order is a ground that cannot be delegated to a committee because it's a core police function. And as the panelists before me quite correctly said, that it's not a political function, it's a core police function. So that's essentially what's being argued before the court. Let us see what the court decides.
Well, Karna, I disagree with you on the first point that we can't debate what is happening in the court. Of course, when a matter is sub judice, please let me finish my argument. I heard you with a lot of patience. I think we can debate in the limits which are prescribed in law. And of course, there is nobody, whenever there is a debate happening in the country of the political and social importance, each individual is free to debate that issue. I don't even
then
know
why
why
are
that
you
personal
allowed to on
jibe came to
TV?
me.
Go back to your
But
social media
irrespective of that,
country.
let me go to another panelist. Mr. Zafar Islam, I'm coming to you. The key allegation that the Congress party has been making is that this entire issue has been rigged up by the district level BJP officials to divert from the other issues. And yes, it doesn't address the merit of those arguments, but that is the larger argument which has been put out in the public debate.
Well, let me respond to them first.
Sure.
If it was only a district level issue, then the court of law and High Court of Karnataka will settle the issue. Why Priyanka Gandhi and for that matter many other senior leaders of Congress are jumping in? It is not warranted because it's an issue which will get settled. It's an issue pertaining to a school, which if they have some grievances, the students have some grievances against the policy of the school, they have approached the court. Let's wait for the verdict of the High Court of the Karnataka instead of jumping the gun and making comments. We all know that Congress party is making it as a political issue, while it is not a political issue. We do not want to use it make it as a political issue. All we want that this issue needs to be settled, and we are absolutely clear that the Constitution gives you that flexibility that you can wear whatever you want to wear. There is no such legislation which can restrict you from wearing. But having said that, if there is a dress code which has been made aware of to you at the time of taking admission, then you have to comply with that. Is something which the authorities are saying. But if you have
Mr.
some
Zafar
grievances,
Islam, there
you
was
have
an
to go to the
interesting
court.
statement
Instead
that
of
was
making
made
it
by
an issue.
Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami. And in the context of this larger debate which is happening, he also said that uniform civil code is something we should think about. Can UCC really address issues like these, intricate and sensitive issues like these?
I think we should sooner than later we should implement universal civil code because uniform civil code because I mean whether it's Muslim, Hindu, or for that matter any community from any person from the different faith, if they go to any other country where uniform civil code is there, like for instance US, everybody follows it without being targeted any particular person of any particular religion. They all feel comfortable. I think there is a precedent where people feel comfortable whether I'm Muslim or Hindu or Sikh or Sai, they all follow, or Christian, they all follow the same law of the land, and they're all comfortable. They coexist comfortably. Why can't we coexist here? I think
Aditya,
it is important
on that point I'm coming to you. On that point, I'm coming to you.
Ensure that it is implemented.
Yes. The argument which has been made by various BJP leaders, including Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami, is the argument that uniform civil code is the answer to a lot of such issues which are being debated in the country. There's a Law Commission report as well that had come a couple of years earlier, and it had pointed out to a lot of challenges, constitutional and legal challenges that lie in the way as far as uniform civil code is concerned. But can UCC or a model of UCC really address issues like this?
Instinctively, it seems as if the people of a country should be governed by a uniform code. That seems to make sense. But, you know, I don't want to say too much about it because ultimately it will depend a lot on the detail of what you put into that uniform civil code.
Sure.
So there may be things, there may be circumstances and exceptions where you might want to be treated differently. So we'll have to see exactly what you put into that code. But yes, instinctively, it of course makes a lot of sense that the people of a country are governed by one code. Can I also just say I have absolutely no idea why Karuna felt the need to issue that initial caveat. I think we're all here to debate this responsibly as a human.
Yes. I want to bring in Karuna on that note. Karuna, what are your thoughts on the implementation of a uniform civil code, especially when we see debates like which is happening in the context of hijab? Do you think it's appropriate to comment on that, or even that matter is sub judice?
I don't know who is speaking before me. Never met them in my life. Better to address me as Miss Nandi, frankly.
Sure,
or
Ms.
Karuna
Nandi.
ji.
Aditya Srinivasan.
Don't know who he is. Okay, here's the thing. With the Uniform Civil Code, that's not sub judice. I think we can absolutely address it. I am very much in favor of the Uniform Civil Code and a draft in fact, has been proposed by a number of progressive organizations and individuals, of which I am not a part, that I think can be looked at. The problem is not with the idea of the Uniform Civil Code. I think that many of us agree that it's a good idea. The problem is that in the name of secularism, the BJP and many other parties are seeking to impose a default and dominant ideology that suppresses other religions.
Okay.
And that is something that I and many other
Would you like to
citizens have a
substantiate
problem.
that argument? How exactly are they doing that?
Well, if you look at, for example, the idea of secularism, right? It's under attack when they say that, in fact, the BJP IT cell and many officials of the BJP call, others, secular liberals, pseudo-secular liberals, and whether they are liberals
I do
or
get
not.
your argument, but I just want to make it absolutely clear that Aditya, you are as welcome as a guest and as esteemed as a guest on this panel as anybody else. And the comments of somebody else, Aditya, do not reflect what we think about you as a guest on our panel. Swati, I'm coming to you on that point. The Congress party on the larger issue of the Uniform Civil Code has not really issued a particular statement. This is an idea which has been debated in the public domain. There's a Law Commission report as well. And now there's a thinking within the establishment in various state governments, and also a debate that has happened in the corridors of the Supreme Court, in the courtrooms at the Supreme Court, that perhaps UCC is an idea that we should start thinking about and look at the details. What is it that we put into that code is going to be very important. The official stand of the Congress party on this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I have another panel. I'm going to go.
Thank you, Karna.
Anusha, the reason why UCC cannot be dealt with or commented on very casually is because the kind of nitty-gritties which are involved in even, and I'm not talking about different religions coming under one scanner. I'm talking about one religion for that matter. Even if you say Hinduism, right? Now the Khap Panchayat of the north of Haryana and UP, over here in the northern part of India, the Khap Panchayat forbids marrying same gotra, sometimes going up to an extent of 17 gotras, right? Whereas down south, there are some which say that it's all right to marry the same gotra, right? So this is not even about different religions. This is about different communities, different parts of the country. So therefore, there needs to be a very detailed discussion and the repercussions as well as the detailing of implementation of UCC. Right? So it's not even about getting one religion over the other or not. I'm not even reaching that. We're not even at that level yet. It's within one religion. There's so many different communities which follow different rules and different, so what will happen in those cases? Right? So therefore, it requires a lot of detailing and rather, a different episode of yours for discussion, I'm sure. Well, and that's why the Congress
No,
party
but you
is
haven't
not given
you haven't answered my question. What is the stand of the Congress party on the Uniform Civil Code? Is it
Well,
about
the
the
Congress
form or the
party-
manner, or the idea itself is something on which the Congress party is not decided yet?
See, Congress party is deciding, we are discussing, everything is under discussion, even the idea of it as well as the details of it, right? The formulation of it, everything under discussion. It's too early, it's premature right now to comment, for me to comment on it right now.
Well, you haven't given me a direct answer. I'm coming to you, Aditya, and taking in a view from you once again. Under the Uniform Civil Code for a diverse country like India, if that idea were to be at least debated upon, is it possible to describe a particular or prescribe a certain dress code and completely prohibit any kind of religious symbols in the state-run institutions? The very peculiar nature of India's secularism, which is inclusive of all religions and not really a-religious or irreligious, can we really have that idea implemented in a country like India?
Yeah, I don't think you can. That's not going to work in a country like India, where we have a really long history of religion, and where our culture and civilization are in fact intertwined with our religion. So you can never sort of write religion out of our society, and I don't think that's a good idea either. To even suggest that you could that one should even think on those lines. And it's completely unworkable in India, I think.
It's completely unworkable. As I close the debate, Mr. Zafar Islam, the last point I want to take from you. On various occasions, the Supreme Court has said that there is a need to harmonize laws, especially when it comes to Muslim personal laws, when it comes to Uniform Civil Code. And on various occasions, it has been said that this is a step that the government of the day needs to take. Your government in the Supreme Court on many occasions has not responded to the petitions filed by certain BJP leaders itself. Why that delay on the Uniform Civil Code?
As other panelists were saying, that we have to take everyone along while deciding Uniform Civil Code. It's not only the BJP wants to impose on civil code or Uniform Civil Code on the citizen, but they want to take every section of the society along with us, and that's why there is a debate, discussion, and it's taking place within the community, within the section of the society, so that there is a consensus and everybody's coming together that there should be a Uniform Civil Code, and that should be applicable for every citizen of this great country.
Absolutely. Mr. Zafar Islam, Swati Malik, we also had Karna Nandi and Aditya Srinivasan. Thank you everyone for joining us on the broadcast. Ours is a thriving democracy, a secular liberal democracy. Yes, there are limitations that the state institutions prescribe, and perhaps these dynamic and thriving debates make India's democracy so living and vibrant. Here's looking forward to what the Karnataka High Court or perhaps the Supreme Court in the longer run has to say about this issue. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching this site.